Yay Networks.
Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sibylla Muti, and I can't wait for you to hear all of the Great Girlfriend magic on today's show. So without further ado, grab something great to drink, grab your pen and your paper, and get ready for this week's episode. Enjoy. Hey, great girlfriends. Happy Wednesday. And I'm going to call this Happy National Take a Breath Day. Everyone just stop and take a sacred breath and just receive all of the good things that come along with the breath, and then release all the things that don't need to be associated with your breath. And I'm probably doing this all wrong, but that's okay. It's all going to get fixed today because I have a great girlfriend who is going to walk and talk us through the power of breath work today. I'm going to introduce to you my guest, but before I give you her full name and her explosive smile, I want to share a little bit about her background. My guest today is the founder and visionary behind the Academy of Breath, international breathwork and meditation school focused on making these ancient embodiment practices household tools across the globe. Having worked with top wellness brands like Alo Yoga, Mindbodygreen and Yoga Journal, my guest has a mission to bridge the gap between modern neuroscience and mysticism so breathwork and meditation are made accessible to everyone, from high-level executives to stay-at-home parents. Yet her present-day reality, of running a $500,000 breathwork and meditation empire, all while giving back 10% of profits to marginalized communities and do-good organizations, is the polar opposite to her teenage experience. At the age of 16, my guest was homeless. Her rise to fulfillment, entrepreneurial success with the Academy of Breath, and claiming a mission that serves all makes her living the embodiment of perseverance, healing, and wellness. I want to welcome today my guest and great girlfriend, Ava Johanna.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here and to just be able to share space with you and everyone else. I'm so excited.
I know. And I mean it when I say you have this explosive smile and light. And I understand that it comes from this story. There's a big story here, Ava, of your why and what got you started. And some of the backdrop to that, probably some dark days that kind of led you into discovering a place of healing and how to create sacred space in your body. So I'd love for you to just jump in and tell us for yourself, who is Ava?
Such a great question. A question I'm constantly asking myself.
Right?
I think that's why I love breathwork and meditation so much, is because it really is a space in which I can ask that question and really answer it from a connection to like God and to the universe versus a relationship to the external world. I think that so often we go through life relating ourselves, our worth, our happiness, our fulfillment based off of what is deemed as quote unquote correct or right or on the path for the outside world. But what really allows us to feel home in our bodies, safe in our bodies, deep love, worth, and just fulfillment doesn't come from anything external. It comes from the internal. And I think that when I started finding yoga and meditation and breath work, it was really the first time that I had felt at home in my body in
Wow.
my entire life. And it's funny because the very first yoga class that I took, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to make people feel as good as I feel right now, whatever that looks like. And that's really when the motor started in me starting to explore these modalities and how we can bring them into our life, our relationships, our businesses. And I mean, it really has been such a beautiful journey for me because growing up, I mean, I didn't have anything. I felt unsafe in every single moment. And to have these tools that didn't cost anything, that really just required my own devotion, and not even that much time really, but just devotion it was just such an eye-opening experience to me that there are so many people in the world that are hurting in so many different ways. And these practices could offer them some sort of healing, whether it be physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, but healing of some sort that could help them to exit whatever matrix of suffering that they were currently in.
Matrix of suffering. That's so powerful. And I often think about you talk about safety and, being accepted, being safe. It's those things that we as women crave and require for us to have that acceptance. But I think about all the ways that we've allowed other people to feel safe in our bodies,
Mhm.
all the ways that we allow our children to feel safe, our employers, the work that we carry, the loads of life, all the things, the expectations of others. And then there's so many vacancies where our own fulfillment is concerned. And like you said, having a devotion to this healing practice has offered you an opportunity to really live a full life, really live, first of all,
Yeah.
to take that word and to really, reframe it to make it purposeful for you. And you talked about the difference of living unsafe as a child. And then I want to get to 16 where you're homeless. And there's a turning point in your life at this point. Can you kind of touch on what took place during that period?
Yeah. So, my mom did the absolute best that she could, having
Mhm.
separated from a, emotionally and mentally abusive relationship with my stepdad. And
Mhm.
at the time, and still to this day, my little sister has autism. And so my mom has been her
Mhm.
primary caregiver her entire life, and which has meant that my
Wow.
mom hasn't been able to hold a full-time job because she simply can't. She has to be on call
Mhm.
for my sister. And
Mhm.
so before 16, I didn't have a bad life. I had a lot of things handed to me, which was lovely. And I think that, I'm grateful that I had kind of that dichotomy of experiences so I could see what it was like to have things, and I could also know what it's like to have nothing at all.
Mhm.
And when that had happened to my mom, my sister, and I was angry. I felt
Mhm.
betrayed. I felt like the rug had been pulled from underneath me. And I made a vow to myself that I would never put myself in that situation again. And that really created this really intense fire, like hustle
Mhm.
mentality,
Yeah.
from a place of lack and scarcity, because I was so scared to not have a roof over my head again. I was so scared to not know where my food was coming from. I was so scared to not
Mhm.
know where I was going to sleep at night. And, I carried that for a while into my early 20s, and I'm still dismantling layers of that
Mhm.
scarcity and that lack, and how that sometimes might influence me to say yes to something when I really want to say no, or
Mhm.
do something that doesn't necessarily feel like it's in alignment as a mechanism to keep me protected and safe. And so, it definitely, I'm grateful for that experience, because if I hadn't learned how to hustle, I think that I wouldn't be where I am today. But I've also
Yeah.
had to really dismantle the relationship between doing more and feeling worthy or feeling like I'm deserving, and
Mhm.
really break that paradigm down and that story down that I think so many of us, whether you've been homeless or not, so many of us correlate how much we do with how worthy we are. And that's just simply not the
Mhm.
case. We're worthy because we have a heartbeat.
That's right. Yeah, worthiness. Worth is a birthright.
Mhm.
It comes with every breath, right? It is not about the work that we do. You're absolutely right. And isn't it beautiful when you come to that place of realization? Isn't it liberating? It's almost
Yes.
like you have more power to choose where you want to show up and how and when,
Yeah.
right? And when to walk away. And you set higher standards, and your boundaries are, more refined because you understand the power that comes with that birthright. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think also it's like, just for everyone listening too, it's not that those like initial triggers or responses necessarily go away. It's just that you become more
Right.
aware of it. And
Yeah.
so, and then you have the correct tools to help you work through it. So, as an example, with like the boundary setting, or,
Mhm.
maybe settling for something, that like just
Mhm.
taking what you can, without really like allowing yourself to go for what you really want. Like all of those all of those things can still happen. And we also, as we go along in this journey, develop the practices to be able to recognize when we're about to fall back into patterns and
Mhm.
choose up for ourselves. That's why I love breathwork so much, because it's that like sacred pause that creates space between the reaction and the pattern, and gives us an opportunity to reprogram and create a new response.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. I love that. You just said something powerful. You said choose up.
Mm,
Choose up. I'm
choose
like,
up.
somebody just got like set free, like choose up. You mean to tell me I've been choosing down? You mean to tell me I've been in choice neutral space? You've been telling me I've been feeling disempowered, like I have no choice. And now I hear Ava saying that I can choose up. Talk a little bit more about choosing up.
Yes, I love it so much. So, I think it goes back to what I was sharing about how, like, sometimes we just settle.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Sometimes I was having such a powerful conversation with my therapist the other day, and she's like, "Sometimes do you feel like you just like take what you can and don't ask for more because it like you grew up in a world where you just take what you get and be grateful for it?"
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so and we can think about that as like lateral choices, right? Choosing laterally or choosing down.
Yeah.
And, as I have worked with many powerful mentors and coaches and have placed myself in environments with individuals that are operating in a different octave as far as how they look at the
Mm-hmm.
world and how they look at money and how they look at their business and how they look at relationships and just the world overall.
Yeah.
I've realized that there's so many different perspectives of how we can look at things. And
Yes.
there's a lot of times and a lot of ways where I'm just choosing laterally because it's what I know. But
Mm-hmm.
a question that I ask myself very often is if I were to choose from a place of overflow and abundance and nothing was off the table, what would I really be asking for right now? What does my heart really desire right
Ooh.
now? And that's choosing up.
Woo! Isn't that great?
Mhm.
Like,
It feels
oh, so
good.
so it's I mean, because 'cause you're tapping into the imagination, which, I taught great girlfriends, you know how I feel about the imagination. I know we think it's only for kids, but I like literally daily, I spend time with my imagination in the practice of imagining, just co-creating with God and writing out what I see or what I would if things were boundless, what would they be?
Mm,
If health were full of if health were healthy, what would it be? If our banks were full, where would we distribute funds?
yeah.
If there were no limits, if the past didn't hurt as much as it hurt today, what would life look like? And you really are plugged into that, fully plugged in. And
I
so I
try
want
to
to
be.
so oh girl, you got the wattage down. You are plugged into that. And I love it because that's my vibration. So I really celebrate that spirit. That
Thank
spirit is
you.
that's what makes um that's what makes the impossible possible. And I also think, Ava, I believe that a curious heart and mind is like the open door to adventure, right?
Mm,
And so
mhm.
when we're able to release boundaries, have boundaries for things that don't serve us, but release boundaries to make space for what does serve us, it leads you to this higher ground. I feel
Yeah.
like you found the higher ground as a result of having that curious heart and mind for what would serve you more.
Yes, I think it's also
Yeah.
like changing your expectations too. I was thinking
Yeah.
about this earlier this week. Like we often expect so little, right? Sometimes
Mhm.
I remember, I mean, a big common saying my mom would be spouting out around the house was don't expect anything from anybody. And
Yeah.
that's been a big like hurdle that I've had to work through in my life. And instead
Mhm.
of setting these low expectations of how things are going to perform or how a conversation might go or how someone's going to show up, I've started training myself to expect more, to expect
Yeah.
higher, not from a place of if this happens or if this doesn't
Yeah.
happen, then I'm going to be destroyed. But like you said,
Mhm.
like from a place of what's possible, like what if
Mhm.
the boundless were true? Like
Mhm.
what could I expect? I do a lot of business coaching with new business owners. And rather
Mhm.
than them going into, well, I expect that this Instagram post isn't going to get very much engagement or no one's going to buy on the first day. What if we expected that people just ate it up and they just were
Yes.
so excited for whatever you were sharing? What if we expected that this was
Yeah.
going to be the post that invited the soulmate client in or whatever it might be? And,
Yeah.
to your point, it's like that opens you wide to be
Mhm.
more receptive to things going in different directions. And so it's like our expectations can either open us wide into a realm of like infinite magic and serendipity, or it can place 100-foot walls between the things that we truly desire and where we're at now.
Okay, on that mic drop, I'm gonna take a we gotta take a pause and just celebrate our sponsors for today's show. All right, great girlfriends. Who's ready for some good looking, clean cooking? And you can do this dance with me. I got some cookware and it's non-toxic and easy cooking. Oh, and it's well loved. It's time to ditch the chemicals with Caraway Home's non-toxic cookware and bakeware collections so that you and I can make healthier cooking a piece of cake. Caraway Home's non-toxic kitchenwares are all designed for the modern home and feature a chemical-free ceramic coating so food can be prepared with a peace of mind that no hard-to-pronounce compound will ever leach into your healthy ingredients. And let me just say, this cookware is the absolute easiest to clean ever.com. All sets come equipped with easy-to-access storage solutions so that no stacking is required. Gone are the days of misplacing your lids, and cheers to the moms out there who are looking to have a well-organized kitchen where the kids can't even say they lost the cookware tops. All right. The Cookware Set comes in a modern and chemical-free iteration of the traditional 16-piece set, boiled down to 4 essentials. You got your fry pan, your saute pan, your saucepan, and your Dutch oven. All right, I know you're ready to get yours, and you can get one like mine, which is featured in red. It is absolutely the cutest. Visit carawayhome.com/greatgirlfriends to take advantage of this limited time offer for 10% off of your next purchase. This deal is exclusive for our listeners, so visit carawayhome.com/greatgirlfriends or use code greatgirlfriends at checkout. Caraway, non-toxic cookware made modern. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm picking up my face from. You and I are going to get on a boat in Costa Rica and just float and talk about all
Yes,
the
let's do it.
magnificent things
Yeah.
that
How
life
about a
has to
yacht?
offer. I love it. Yes. The biggest, most possible magnificent
Yes,
boat that we could be
exactly.
on. I love it.
Exactly.
And do fancy things. Okay. I just want to say yes. Yes to you. Yes to what you've spoken. And yes to grace. Yes to what
Mhm.
grace opens up for us. And what would happen if we believed that every breath like was fueled with grace and
Mm.
mercy and
It is.
whew, isn't
It
it? It's
is.
another chance. It's a fresh opportunity. So take us into breath work. Take us into the splendor that lies inside of each breath.
Yeah. So, I love that you said it's a new opportunity every single time. For me, one of the things that pulls me in as far as like the philosophy behind the breath is that it's the microcosm of the macrocosm, meaning our breath is kind of the tiniest little example of a cycle of life. And
Mhm.
when we are practicing breath work, what we're really doing is practicing life and our relationship and our perspective and how we show up and relate to discomfort, to
Mhm.
abundance, to fullness, to sensation, to anger, to whatever is alive within a specific breath practice. And every single breath practice
Mhm.
looks different. I've never had
Yeah.
the same experience twice. But
Wow. Yeah.
one of the things that I teach my students through the Academy of Breath is that witness and observe how you are and who you are when you're breathing. Because
Mhm.
how you are and who you are when you breathe is more often than not how you are and who you are outside of your practice. And so we can use our breath as this incredible training ground to reshape our relationship to discomfort, reshape our
Mhm.
relationship to fear, reshape our relationship to even being filled with breath and like overflowing with sensation. And which I like to think of as like, what does it feel like? And how can we hold abundance and hold all
Mhm.
of the good things? Like, do we allow ourselves to really hold that? And
Mhm.
what's so cool is that it doesn't take a long time to on like a spiritual level and an emotional level to create these shifts because again coming back to devotion you're sitting down every single day and rewiring and retraining your nervous system your brain in how to be in those different environments and those different
Mhm.
sensory experiences.
Mhm. 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 Which ultimately creates that sacred safe space that we all deserve and should walk in and dwell in. And it gives us a freedom, right, um, to be more curious and to accept more grace in our life
Mhm.
because we recognize the gift of each breath. It is so powerful, and it's so disruptive to old cycles, right?
Yeah.
Where, our bodies are so stiff from not breathing all day. We're holding our breath all day and so anxious and so stressed because we're not even releasing those things that happened so many, experiences past,
Yeah.
meetings from the top of the day. We're still tense from that pressure and carrying that through the afternoon. By the time we get home, we're enraged.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
and all we have to offer people is an exhale, which is like a roar, roar, because we were
Yeah.
so, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I've been there. Before I was
yes.
in this wellness space, I worked at a startup company and would work like 12-hour days. And I remember
Mhm.
going to the doctor because I had migraines every other week that would last like sometimes up to 3 days. I was miserable. And I
Mm.
remember my doctor was like, "Well, are you stressed?" I'm like, "No." I
Mhm,
I I
mhm,
was I was in that chronic stress state that I thought was what it meant to be a normal American working adult. And
mhm.
it wasn't until I quit my job that my migraines went away and I started doing this work that I realized, "Oh, I was
Yeah.
stressed. Okay." And if I didn't know, I wonder how many people out there don't know that their shoulders are basically touching their ears, that their breath is only
Yeah.
in their chest, creating heart palpitations and increasing their heart rate and causing all of this inflammation in their body that could manifest as
Mhm.
migraines, as stress, as sickness, as whatever, because that's really what stress does for us. And so I think one of the gifts of the breath, as you kind of mentioned, is that it on a neurological and like physiological level actually creates safety in the body. And that's because your
Yeah.
breath is connected to your autonomic nervous system, which regulates your stress response. It regulates your immune response. It regulates your hormones. And so the stress or that our stress response and our breath are completely interconnected. So the autonomic
Mhm.
nervous system is controlled in many ways by the breath. And we can use our breath to signal to our nervous system, hey, it's safe to relax. It's safe to release. It's
Mhm.
safe to let go. And in that process, it actually allows the body to get back to what it's supposed to do, to release happy hormones like serotonin and dopamine, to allow
Yeah.
the blood to circulate in a way that brings fresh red and white blood cells to different areas of the body. So the immune system is stronger. And so it really is such a powerful tool. And it really only takes about 5 minutes with these calming practices to create that signal in the body. And so for me, it's like such a no brainer that everybody in the entire world have these practices because, especially now, we need to be communicating safety to our bodies so that we can show up as the best
Yes.
versions of ourselves and make the impact on the world that we are meant to make in whatever form that might be, even if that impact is just on our family.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, I wanna take 2 breaths just to celebrate, our sponsor for the podcast this week. Great girlfriends, I want to celebrate my mom today for introducing me to her benefits as a member of the AARP. But I have a question for you. How many of you thought that the AARP was only available to women or men over the ages of 50? I know, I thought the same thing. And guess what I learned, Mama? Any adult can join the AARP and have a membership at very little cost. Here are a few benefits that come inside of an AARP membership. 61% average savings on prescription drugs not covered by Medicare, discounts on thousands of hotels nationwide, family caregiving support, a job board and resume advisor, driver safety tips, financial planning, retirement, and Social Security resources. Who wouldn't want to get all of those benefits and celebrate with your mama like I do on all the great perks we're getting as members of the AARP? I know I want it, and I know you do too. So try the benefits for yourself. Go to aarp.org/great girlfriends to join for just $12 for your first year with automatic renewal. You'll get a second membership for free, plus the AARP, the magazine, and a free gift. That's aarp.org/great girlfriends. All right, so we're back in, Ava, and I'm just curious for the great girlfriend who's overworked, overwhelmed, who has zero grasp on her body, right? She's like you said, that inflammation has taken up space in her body, and she has disease, or who's even just emotionally perplexed and doesn't know where to start. Where does she start to begin the breath work? What is our number one?
Yes.
And then
So
she'll pick up the rest when she joins the academy, but let's give her let's give her number one.
yeah. So the simplest practice that you can do is a coherent breathing practice. And so what this
Okay.
really is inhaling for, we'll do inhale for 4 count, exhale for an 8 count. The power of this, and I'm going to get a little science nerdy on everyone for a moment, is that when we
Okay.
elongate our exhale, we are activating and stimulating our vagus nerve, which is basically like the brake in our stress response. So the higher the vagal tone we
Mhm.
have, the better we are at responding to stress. So if you do this practice consistently, you're going to notice throughout the days and the weeks and the months go by, you are going to be a master of your stress and you are going to know how to show up and how to respond in stressful situations throughout your life. And you're not going to be as stressed out. So
Mhm.
all in and out of the nose, you'll inhale for a 4 count and exhale for an 8 count. Do we want to do 2 breaths just like that?
Oh, let's do it. I love it.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Awesome. So you don't have to close your eyes or anything. We'll just
Okay.
exhale all of your air to prepare. Then inhale through your nose for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4. Then slowly release out of the nose for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Inhale again for 4. Fill up the belly, the rib cage, the chest. Then exhale slowly for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And just take one more big breath in. Inhale through the nose, down into your belly, all the way up into your chest. And take an open mouth exhale to release. And that's it. So about 5 minutes a day of that is super simple. Again, you don't even have to close your eyes. You can do it when you're driving. You can do it when you're waiting in line to pick up your kids. You can do it when you're about to hop on an important call. And again, that's going to really support you in creating that safety in your body.
Oh, that's so powerful. You know, many moons ago, one of my mentors talked to me about breath work and always said, give yourself permission to reset
Mm,
with a breath. Right. And isn't that freeing to know? Which means, before you have to make an important decision or before, someone says something to you and you feel you automatically have to respond. Some people don't even take a breath between your
no.
responses. They just charge in. But you have the power to reset as you need and to take that moment until you feel prepared to respond and do that with those breaths gives you space to make, I think you said, more concise decisions, more healthful decisions that are empowering to us versus just charging in without a breath, just in an effort to be present for whatever someone needs you to be.
Yeah,
And
totally.
it's so helpful.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's the difference between reacting and responding,
Woo,
and it
girl.
will change your life.
Yes, it will. Yes. Wait, someone's Googling definition, reaction versus response. Oh, it'll change your life to know the difference first and then to
Yeah.
do the difference. Woo,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's why
oh
the
my
breath is
goodness.
so powerful. It's that pause, right? It helps me so I
Yeah.
don't react and I can respond. So it helps
Yes,
me
yes.
embody what I cognitively know I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, yeah. I remember hearing a poet say this probably back in high school. She was a famous poet, and she would just take these pauses long,
Mm,
right? What we deem as long. And I remember someone interviewing her and asking her, "Why don't you, what you take these long pauses to respond?" She said, "I respond when I'm ready.
mm,
I'm ready. When I'm prepared is when I respond." And now, mind you, when I say pauses, I'm like, okay, is she going to respond to this question? Like, what's going to happen here? She responds when she's ready. And it's so interesting. My daughter, who's 10, um, mirrors that behavior a lot. And she's always done it since she was a baby. And I had to always appreciate the fact that she was giving her response when she's ready instead of reacting.
mm.
She it has it in her being to just take the time she needs to respond as she's ready. And it doesn't always make everyone happy. You don't always feel seen or heard by her, but she respects her own space. And for me, I'm like, I kind of honor that. Like, that's really a dope way to live. She's not reactive, she's responsive. And you know, changes the life, right?
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Please continue
Super.
celebrating that in her so
I
she can
know.
be an example for others.
They say the children shall lead them. She's raised me up in a number of ways. But so for you, Ava, how can we get involved? Like a breather number one. Like this is day one of breath work. I'm just so fresh into this. I've listened to this podcast and I really want to learn how to make this a lifestyle.
Mm.
Where do I jump in?
Yeah. So, we created an Instagram page for the Academy of Breath. It's at Breathwork Certification. And
Okay.
between myself and past alumni, we do different videos, tutorials, live trainings that it's all free content for anybody
Mhm.
who is interested in just starting to dip their toes in. And if you are ready to take the step past that, we also have a 6 module course that's like a DIY, go at your own pace breathwork course that's really meant to help support you in developing your own personal practice, which you
Mhm.
can find on through the breathwork certification page on Instagram. And then if someone's like, I've been breathing, I love it, I want to be a breathwork teacher, we have the Academy of Breath, which is a 12-week breathwork and meditation online certification program.
Very cool. I love that. So, as you take these breaths and you travel the world, I know you mentioned that you have some exciting places and adventures that lie ahead of you. What's next for you as well?
My word for 2022 is inspiration. So
Mhm.
I've really been trusting in where I feel most inspired to go. And whether that be go location wise or go in my business or go in creativity and seeing where that takes me. I think, again, just going
Yeah.
back to the beginning of our conversation around like really saying yes to things and being influenced by this idea of safety and making sure to never recreate what I experienced and endured as a teenager.
Mhm.
This next chapter, this next stage of my life is like more so what happens when my heart is leading me fully? What happens when I live inspired? And where's that going to take me?
Oh, that's so good. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm here for the journey. I'm here to
Yes.
celebrate and watch and cheer and meet you in a random city and go, hey girl, let's do it.
Yes.
Look what's happening today. Let's hang out like we did today. And I can't thank you enough for sharing your expertise and all of your value with us here at the Great Girlfriends. We're so honored by the work you do. And I hope that, Great Girlfriends, you have captured a fresh perspective today and also accept the invitation to take your body to a higher ground and set more intentions, right? More positive intentions.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you. All right, great girlfriends, did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast and the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group at The Great Girlfriends, follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends, and on Twitter at _great GFS. I'm Sibylla Muti, and I'm out. Peace.